Hello, and welcome back to another world building and art video. In this episode, I reckon we're going to design another nation that can rival the Nasandrites that we did last episode, so it's not all about them. I bet they're furious about that. The plan for these lot is that they're technologically advanced, or at least they are in comparison to everyone else in this world, and have access to technology and magic, combining them together in ways that no other civilization in this world can do. This gives them the edge in battle over the Nasandrites and allows them to survive, so although they have less of a population and worse soldiers than their enemies, they can still dominate the battlefield and defend themselves. Given that the Nasandrites are a snow-based kingdom, and obviously because I am basic, these lot will be fire-based, or more specifically, volcano-based. I'm thinking that their capital city is based inside of a dormant volcano, and they use the energy that comes off of the volcano as power to fuel their machinery and weapons, sort of like geothermal power in the real world. It shouldn't really be a surprise to the, 12 people at the time of recording who have watched my first video, these lot don't really get along well with the Nasandrites. The main reason for this, for the other 7 billion people who haven't, is because this nation has the most knowledge and technology in the world, and the Nasandrites have an unfortunate hobby of nicking everything they can get their hands on. It should be fairly obvious that this leads to some tension, to put it lightly, between the two nations for some sweet, sweet political drama. For the first bit of culture and history that we'll figure out here, the main question is how they view the volcano. After all, it is the reason why the nation still exists in the modern setting, and is the cornerstone of all the progress they make. What I'm thinking is that they worship the god of the volcano, and because the volcano is so tied to their idea of technology, he is also the god of the forge, because why not? Because they worship the god of volcanoes and the forge, I reckon what he is like will affect their philosophy greatly. I'm thinking that because volcanoes are destructive, and the forge is creative, this dichotomy influences the nation, and actually helps them against the Nasandrites. But because they view creation and destruction as just part of the cycle of life, in the context of war they see any defeat to the Nasandrites as simply part of this cycle, with victories inevitably coming later on. This would mean that they are incredibly unlikely to surrender, and so that makes them some of the most tenacious people in the entire world. The question now becomes, what would the god of volcanoes think of these people? Either he could be loving and respectful of what they're doing, or apathetic because volcanoes are just like that sometimes. After some thinking, I decided I could just do both. And so the god is kind to those who deserve it, and this nation probably does, let's be honest, and is very judgmental to those who don't. The strong and cruel, then, most likely have a tendency to be destroyed by volcanic activity, and maybe that's happened in the past to corrupt regimes of this empire, which is, probably a reasonable motivator towards maybe not being the absolute worst. The next question to ask, then, is how do they treat people from outside their nation? What I think would be cool is that they are very open to refugees and people who need their help, for the reasons mentioned before. But perhaps because technology is so essential to their survival, they limit the lower classes from access to it. This leads to a sort of oligarchy, where the priests and mechanics have almost exclusive access to the tech, and therefore have all the power. It's probably not the most stable of political systems, but it does make sense for them, and that's kind of what I'm going for here. As this is an empire of magic and technology combined, I might make it canon that these lot are the people who imprisoned the Burning Knight from my first video in his suit of armour. They definitely feel like the people who would have an interesting sense of justice like that towards an admittedly not very nice person like the Burning Knight. And also it would be in keeping with this whole, permanently on fire vibe. The final question in this little lore segment is what to call them. I don't think these people are egotistical enough to name themselves after their god, unlike another empire I can mention, Nasandrites, what? So I'm gonna have to think of something else. Though, to be honest, I also do need a name for their god, so I'm making more work for myself here. After a bit of thinking, and a quick Google search of names for volcanoes in other language, I decided with the name Sokaal for the nation because it sounds cool, and I reckon the god of the forge will be called Sakurun. So it's similar, but not quite the same, you know? Now, for the aesthetic of the Sokaal, these lot are based off the power of the volcano that they live in, as mentioned before. Unsurprisingly, this poses just a minor environmental hazard, so I imagine that these will be heavily armoured against that, so that armour can function just as well as like an environmental suit for dangerous environments, like, for example, a volcano, as well as for combat and, you know, general fighting stuff. As mentioned before as well, they power their armour and weapons with rocks and shards from the volcano, and so I'm thinking that they have to carry pieces of these onto the battlefield, so they don't run out of power mid-fight. If only they had invented batteries. Now, just because they are technologically advanced, this doesn't mean that they're going to go out of their way to be aesthetically pleasing. Of course, the Nasandrites having the tendency to steal stuff and be good at fighting while doing it poses an issue for these lot, and I reckon that even though they can hold their own against their rival empire, they're more desperate than it might seem at first. This means that they don't have time to prettify everything, though of course I am still going to make this look nice because I want to do that. But that's not the intention behind the design that the Sokaal have created in-universe. This is just purely utilitarian design to get suits made as fast as possible to the highest standard, just to keep the nation going. You might also notice that this is a very different vibe from my last couple videos, given it's more steampunky than medieval fantasy, and that's because I wanted to do something different, because focus is hard. I'm pretty sure that this can fit inside the magic system I've got going, and for the record, that magic system currently doesn't exist, so shush, I can do what I like, this will totally fit in, trust. You might notice that less of the internal heat suit is visible on their legs, and there's far more sheet metal. That's mostly because when working around lava, in a workplace environment like a volcano, for example, it's generally considered a good idea to expose as little of your legs to any lava you might fall into as possible. Nice bit of workplace safety, because these lot are smart. Though, so far everyone is smart apparently, so maybe I need to make an unsmart group, so we can get some, what I like to call, not nerd representation in here. On the subject of colour then, I had a quick Google for images of volcanic metal, and I found a cool picture where the rock is an orangey colour, but metal has sort of been like infused into it, and it's like a cool electric bluey purple colour, so that's the reason why these lot are orange and electric bluey purple. I also imagine in lore their armour is forged from the rock of the volcano, which gives it its unique colour. I reckon it's probably also magic and heat resistance, because that's quite convenient for a nation revolving around magic and also heat. And there we have it, the final piece. So, thank you all for watching. So if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and check out the rest of my channel for more world building videos like this, and also Minecraft, because a single theme on any project of mine is too much to ask for, as you can tell by the complete 180 in tone I've done on this piece. Hope you have a nice day, and goodbye.